He gave me the papers. I took the money and walked away. I woke up to the sound of distant beeping, each pulse sharp and unrelenting, dragging me back from the void. My eyes fluttered open, meeting the cold, sterile glow of fluorescent lights. The air was thick with the stench of antiseptic, and every muscle in my body screamed in protest as I tried to move. Panic clawed at the edges of my mind. Where was I? What had happened? Silly story begins. Before we continue, please like and subscribe. Then, like a flash of lightning, fragmented memories seared through my brain. A staircase. A scream. The cold, hard impact. And then, darkness. My hand instinctively moved to my stomach, but it met only emptiness. A hollow, aching void replaced the life I had been carrying. My breath hitched, and my heart felt like it was shattering into pieces too small to ever be whole again. Before I could even process the agony, the door creaked open, and my sister Ava rushed in. Her face was pale, her eyes red and puffy, as if she'd been crying for days. She gripped my hand tightly, her knuckles white. "You're awake," she said, her voice trembling with relief but undercut by simmering anger. Her next words struck like a dagger to my chest. "You never should have married Lucas," she spat, her tone venomous, her gaze blazing with fury. Lucas. The name echoed in my mind like a curse. It felt familiar yet foreign. A shadow I couldn't fully grasp. I blinked at her, my voice barely above a whisper. "What happened?" Ava's expression softened for a moment before hardening again. She exhaled sharply and sat down beside me. "You deserve the truth," she said, her voice breaking. "Lucas, he betrayed you? That snake and his mistress, Isabel, have been mocking you behind your back for months. They planned everything. And Isabel," her voice cracked again, and she paused, gripping my hand tighter. "Isabel pushed you down the stairs." My chest constricted, and the edges of my vision blurred. Ava's voice sounded distant as she continued, recounting the betrayal, the lies, and the cold, calculated cruelty of the man I had once called my husband. But the worst was yet to come. "You lost the baby," Ava whispered, her voice barely audible. "She killed your child." The words shattered me. Pain ripped through me, a raw, primal agony that I couldn't contain. Tears blurred my vision, and I let out a broken sob. I wanted to scream, to claw at the walls, to make someone, anyone, feel the depth of my despair. But I didn't have the strength. All I could do was lie there, the weight of my grief pressing me into the hospital bed like a stone. And then the door opened again. Lucas walked in, his expression cold, detached. Beside him was a man in a tailored suit holding a briefcase. Lucas didn't even look at me as he spoke. "Sign this," he said, tossing a stack of papers onto my lap. "Divorce papers. 5 billion, he added, his tone clipped and businesslike. "Take it and leave." I stared at the papers, then at him. Something inside me broke. Or maybe it hardened. I didn't cry, didn't scream. Instead, I laughed. It was a hollow, bitter sound that seemed to echo off the sterile walls. 5 billion? I said, my voice trembling with a mixture of disbelief and defiance. "Is that all I'm worth to you?" Without waiting for an answer, I grabbed the pen and scrawled my name across the dotted line. Ava looked at me like I'd lost my mind, but I felt strangely calm, detached. I handed the papers back to Lucas with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "There, done, you can leave now." Lucas hesitated, his lawyer glancing at him nervously, but eventually they left. And with them, so did the remnants of the life I'd apparently built, the life they'd destroyed. The days that followed were a blur of rage and determination. I returned to the mansion we'd shared, a place that now felt more like a gilded prison than a home. I stripped it of everything of value: jewelry, designer clothes, anything that bore Lucas's mark. I sold it all for a fraction of its worth. It wasn't about the money, it was about erasing him from my life, piece by piece. But the emptiness lingered. The nights were the worst. I'd lie awake, haunted by fragmented images of a life I couldn't fully remember. A baby's laughter that I'd never hear. The sound of my own screams as I fell. The cruel laughter of Isabel. I became consumed by my own despair, eating little, sleeping less. Ava tried to help, but even she couldn't reach me in the depths of my grief. I started noticing how she struggled to hide her exhaustion, working multiple jobs to make ends meet after Lucas had her fired. She'd put on a brave face for me, but I saw through it. Her sacrifices only deepened my guilt, fueling the fire inside me to reclaim what had been stolen from us. Lucas wasn't done with me. He froze my accounts, blacklisted me from every job I applied for, and even sent veiled threats to landlords when I tried to find a new place to live. His revenge was meticulous and cruel, a reminder that he wasn't just walking away. He wanted me to suffer. He wanted me to know I was powerless. One night, I found myself standing in the rain outside the mansion, drenched and shivering, staring at the towering gates that once symbolized security, but now felt like the bars of a cage. My reflection in the puddles looked like a ghost, pale, hollow, and defeated. But as I stared, something inside me shifted. I wasn't going to let him win. Not again. I started small, gathering evidence, hiring a private investigator to dig into Lucas's affairs. The more I uncovered, the angrier I became. There were offshore accounts, hidden assets, and enough evidence of fraud to bury him if used correctly. And then there was Isabel, the weak link in his chain. She cornered me one day in a dingy cafe, her expression dripping with smugness. "Did you know I killed your child on purpose?" she said, her voice low but filled with venom. Her smile widened as she saw the shock on my face. "I wanted you out of the picture. And it worked, didn't it?" Something in me snapped. Before I knew it, I had grabbed her by the hair and slammed her arm against the granite countertop. Again and again. Her screams filled the air, but I didn't stop until someone pulled me away. Lucas. He'd arrived just in time to see the aftermath, and his fury was palpable. He slapped me so hard my vision blurred, but I didn't cry. I tasted blood and spat it out, meeting his gaze with a smile that probably looked deranged. "You've already taken everything from me," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos around me. "What more can you do?" Lucas didn't answer. He just dragged Isabel out of the cafe, her sobs echoing in the distance. But I wasn't done. I had one last card to play. A divorce lawsuit filed with the help of Caleb, the one lawyer Lucas couldn't bribe or intimidate. Caleb wasn't just a lawyer, he was someone I had met during my early years, a person who believed in justice above all else. His unwavering support gave me strength when I felt like crumbling. The court case was brutal. Evidence of Lucas's infidelity played out in excruciating detail, video after video showing him with Isabel. His facade of control cracked as the courtroom watched his betrayal unfold. He looked at me, his eyes pleading for an explanation. But I didn't owe him one. The memories of him were gone. And with them, any love I might have felt. I'd spent months compiling evidence of his financial crimes. Bank statements, offshore accounts, falsified tax documents. The judge's gavel fell with a finality that sent shockwaves through the courtroom. Lucas wasn't just losing me, he was losing everything. His reputation, his wealth, his mistress, all of it crumbled like ash in the wind. But freedom wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning. I left the courtroom that day with my head held high, but the scars they left behind were still there. The nights were still long, and the memories still haunted me. But I was free, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I had a future to look forward to. Now I'm rebuilding. Slowly, steadily. I've started my own business, using what little I had left to create something new. I've surrounded myself with people who truly care about me, people who see me for who I am, not who I was with Lucas. Ava, always my anchor, is finally able to rest, her laughter a reminder that some pieces of life can be reclaimed. The scars they left behind have only made me stronger. Lucas thought he could break me, but all he did was set me free. And as I look toward the future, one thing is certain. I'll make sure the world knows the truth. I wasn't just a survivor, I was the woman who burned his world to the ground, and rose from the ashes, stronger than ever.